I love pinball. I go to arcades, I play in tournaments. So when I heard there was a 2D platformer that incorporated pinball, I had to check it out. That's why today, I'll be reviewing Yoku's Island Express. Yoku's Island Express is a game where you play as an ant who's tasked to be the new village postman, and it's your job to bounce around the island and deliver posts to all the different residents. What I was hoping for in this game was a twist on Kirby's Canvas Curse. Kirby's Canvas Curse was one of my favorite games from my childhood, and now that I reflect on it a little bit, I think the Nintendo DS might be one of my favorite systems of all time. I have so many memories of fantastic games that I loved on the Nintendo DS, like The World Ends With You, Rhythm Heaven, WarioWare Touched, and of course, Kirby's Canvas Curse. And what I loved about Kirby's Canvas Curse is it was so fluid. The movement felt so fantastic. I felt like I was using creativity to traverse the levels. It kind of gave me Portal vibes, not at all in the gameplay, but more in regards to I felt like I was cheating my way through the levels. That the level wasn't actually supposed to be passed this way, but my genius brain concocted a solution that the developers hadn't even fathomed. Which brings me to what I love about pinball. And first I want to say, if you have the misconception that pinball is the game of luck, I assure you it is not. Now, luck is a factor in pinball, but it is a game of skill that rewards lightning fast reflexes and precision shooting. And that's what I was hoping to get out of Yoku's Island Express. Unfortunately, I didn't get that. Yoku's Island Express definitely has pinball mechanics within the game. However, I almost feel like the creator of this game wasn't a pinball fan. There exist elements in the game that are reminiscent of pinball. There are flippers, pop bumpers, ramps to hit, but I never felt like I was playing pinball. One of the major aspects of pinball is risk reward. You put yourself in situations where you hit more dangerous shots to get more points, or you consistently shoot safer shots, which may not lead to more points immediately, but if your ball doesn't drain, you keep slowly racking up consistent safe points. However, in Yoku's Island Express, I always felt like the pacing was incredibly slow. There were no decisions to make. There were never any real choices to make. The objective was completely clear. There was only one path, more or less, to achieve that objective. There were no rewards for combos or consistently hitting the same shot over and over again. All the elements that I love about pinball were nowhere to be found in this game. Not to mention nudging is completely absent from this game. For those who aren't aware, nudging is such an important component of pinball. When your ball isn't going exactly where you want it to, you can slightly nudge the table to get the ball onto the path that you want it to be. Also missing from this game were dead bounces, where you allow the ball to hit your flipper without flipping, and the ball will naturally bounce from gravity to the other flipper or somewhere else on the playfield. And these are two huge components of pinball that skilled players are constantly using. And it just felt so strange to have all the mechanics of a pinball table, but not being able to leverage the things that feel so natural to a pinball player. Another gripe I have about this game is that all of the different pinball tables, let's call them, existed as zones on the map. And so you would navigate to this space, which was a really small playfield for a normal pinball table. I'd say it's about a third or maybe half of the size of a normal pinball table, which in a video game, there's no reason to have any of these constraints, and you can have the playfield be as large or as bizarrely shaped as you want it to be. And there were ramps that your ball could fall down that were especially long and had a cool pathing you could follow. But this didn't extend to something that you could interact with. It was only a shot that you could watch fall and not do anything with it. But I would have loved it if these zones were connected and you could consistently transition from one pinball playfield to another. However, they were separated by flat land, and during these transition periods, you played as an ant carrying your ball from one location to another. And I just found that this traversal was incredibly boring and the ant moves slowly. You do get abilities later on in the game, but there was just nothing particularly engaging about traversal when you weren't on a pinball playfield. This game definitely didn't scratch my itch for a pinball video game. For now, I'll just have to stick with virtual pinball when I want to play pinball on my computer. Because this is my first review of the year, I will be putting Yoku's Island Express in my one spot, but believe me, it will not be staying there for very long. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.